Hey, kings and queens, it's your girl Valencia Griffin Wallace, and welcome to Define You Radio.
Welcome to the Define You Radio podcast, where class is always in session. Get ready for the life lessons, tips, and stories to help you define your life. And now, your host, the drill sergeant with love, Valencia Griffin Wallace.
Pens and papers ready? Class is now in session. Thank you so much for tuning in to Define You Radio. I'm your host, Valencia Griffin Wallace. Define You Radio is sponsored by the Define You Queens Movement and the Move Retreat. To find out more, visit valenciagwallace.com. In today's session, we will be interviewing the fabulous queen, Dr. Ray Smith-Peart. In addition to being a doctor, she is also a best-selling author and speaker. Her personal quote, "In order to make real change, you must connect with your purpose, allow that to drive your passion, and never relinquish your positivity." Let's go ahead and welcome Dr. Ray to the show. Hey, Dr. Ray.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's a rainy day, but it's still a good day to get things done.
It's a good sleep-in day.
True that.
I wasn't ready for the rain when I heard it last night. In case you guys are wondering, me and Dr. Ray, or Dr. Ray and I, for those grammar police, live not too close, but not too far from each other. So both of us are dealing with the Louisiana good sleeping rain right now, which is good. I don't know when's the last time I interviewed somebody from my home state. You may be the first.
Wow. Well, thanks for that honor. That's wonderful.
I'm thinking in my mind, because I've had the show almost 3 years, and that's crazy. I'm going to have to check on that. That's interesting. And we've been connected for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy that I'm just getting you on the show as well. I'm going to just leave that alone.
We're just going to leave that there.
So, Dr. Ray, now, what kind of doctor are you?
I am an acute care pediatrician, and that means that I see pediatric patients, so from birth to 18 years old, in the emergency room, in the hospital, and I cover newborn nursery as well as adolescents.
Awesome. So, did you always set out to be a pediatrician, or you just ended up in being a pediatrician?
Well, Valencia, interestingly, I knew that I wanted to be a pediatrician at 7 years old. And I was never a child who was sickly. I was pretty healthy. And that actually, I believe, was a divine purpose on my life. And then when I went to pharmacy school and then medical school, I had the bright idea that I was going to be a forensic pathologist. I guess I had watched too much Quincy TV, shows.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to be a forensic pathologist because, they're like detectives and stuff. And so when I entered my clinical rotations in medical school, that was my leaning, at least that's what I thought. So as I went through my rotations in working with my upper level residents and attendings, that's what I told them. I'm going to be a forensic pathologist. I said, I used to want to be a pediatrician, but I'm going to be a forensic pathologist. So they're like, okay, well, wait until you get to your peds rotation before you really say that, since that's what was on your heart since 7 years old. So my peds rotation was my last one of my 3rd year. And I walked onto that peds unit in the hospital and I knew I was home. So I was like, okay, well, we've come full circle. No more forensic pathologists. Definitely, I need to be a pediatrician.
Interesting. Very interesting. I always wondered how doctors make that decision, what field they're going to exactly go into. And it seems to me like working with kids will kind of pull at your heartstrings a little more, like kids and the elderly.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. And that's why I have a passion for pediatrics, because there is, pulling at the heartstrings. You get more emotionally involved, but, on an objective level, to make certain I'm doing the best thing for that patient, for that child and that family. But that's my reward, because when they feel better, if they come back to me, if I should see them again, they tell me, oh, I feel better. And, adults were not that transparent or that,
Right.
expressive. So I really enjoy that as part of my field.
So you are a mom, right? You do have kids?
Yes, I do. I'm a mom.
That's what I thought. You don't post much, but I've seen definitely pictures of a son, if I'm not mistaken.
You are not mistaken. That is my heartbeat, my joy. Absolutely. He is what got me through breast cancer treatment. So I don't post about him much because he's a little bit private. So
Yeah.
I respect that. But yeah, I have a son who is absolutely a joy for me and his dad.
Sons are the best. And
I think so too.
I'm sorry, I am a little
Sorry, moms
partial.
and daughters.
Yeah. I'm a little partial. I have nieces and I love them, but sons are, it's a different kind of mothering. It's a different kind of bond to me between a mom and a son. But all I have is a son, so that's my my meter. That's what I can base it on. Becoming a parent, did it change you as a doctor, or were you a parent first?
No, actually, I was a pediatrician first. And I think in some ways I was a little bit more rigid before I had my son, especially in my practice. And then when I had a son, I think I started to understand from a different perspective the parenting. But I have to say, in other aspects, it made me even more stringent, because I'm like, I do this and I'm on call this much time. So I think you can do it too. So it's changed me in some aspects, and it's definitely changed me in all aspects, changing my viewpoints in different areas.
I think having kids definitely changes you,
It should.
right. I'll say that. Because I was going to add something else to that, but it should change you for the better, because it's no longer about you. It's about your child. And the key word Dr. Ray said, it should. If you're the same way you was, before you had a kid, you may need to talk to somebody.
Right. You might need to figure out what's going on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So being a busy pediatrician, a mom, and a wife, how did you find time to connect with your purpose? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, being, a daughter, a wife, a mom, I think that drove me more to my purpose, because just like you were saying, Valencia, it's not just about me. So I believe a lot of times when we allow our passions to, drift away from us, that we're actually shortchanging the people in our lives because we're living subpar. So, with those roles that I have in life, I feel like I'm a better daughter, a better wife, a better mom, because I didn't relinquish my dreams.
So when you talk about, do you see a lot of women, because they do have all these other roles, do you think that's a big problem with our gender? Is just like, I have all these roles, I don't have time to find out my purpose, much less walk in it.
Well, the thing about a woman or man, but we're focusing on women right now, especially with the gender aspect of it. If you're not walking in your purpose, you're not fulfilling what you were called to do. And I think so often, especially moms, we tend to have this martyr complex that we have to put ourselves on the altar in order to get things accomplished in our lives. And look, there is a work-life balance. So there's going to be some times where you have to make hard decisions of, I can't do X, Y, Z at work because I have to do ABC for self or family. So, we can't have it all the time, but we can have the things that make us joyful in our lives by making decisions and saying no to some things and yes to other things, and just keeping, I think it's just a matter of clarity and understanding. And sometimes we don't have that clarity because we don't give ourselves those moments to get that clarity. So I think a lot of times moms, especially, we just don't breathe, and we're just not present in the moment. We're constantly pushing to the next task that we have to do. And sometimes that task has to include, what is my purpose?
Okay, Dr. Ray, earlier you mentioned breast cancer.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how you dealt with it, how it changed you, and so on?
Yes, actually, I am a breast cancer survivor. It will be 9 years this December. At the time that I discovered that I had breast cancer, it was actually me. I discovered my own lump during a breast self-exam, and I knew it was different. And so I went to my physician and I told him, I said, I need to have this removed. Well, we knew each other personally, not very, we didn't hang out a lot, but, you're in a physician community, kind of know each other peripherally. And he was like, well, are you sure you want it removed? We can just do a little sample and see. And something in my spirit told me no, have it removed. So that's what I did. I had a lumpectomy. They did the test on the mass, and there were some elements of it that were benign, which means non-cancerous, and there were other elements that were cancer. So I'm very thankful that the whole mass was removed, because it might have actually been fatal for me if it hadn't been. And they, sampled the part that was benign. So after the surgery, I underwent chemotherapy, and then I underwent radiation after that lumpectomy. It was a hard time. I had a 2-year-old at the time. Of course, my husband was dealing with my diagnosis also. And interestingly, I never stopped working. I worked full time through the whole period that I was receiving chemotherapy. My patients were very understanding. I never really lost my energy during the day, talking about walking in your purpose and pursuing your passions. I had the energy to be in my office like every other day before my cancer diagnosis. But when I would go home, I would just lay there on the sofa for a while. And I actually realized that, those are the things that are important, is, serving my patients, being there for my husband, being there for my son. And that really got me through. And so I've been cancer-free for 9 years now. Now, as far as changing my perspective, I've always been a very, empathic and empathetic person. So I don't think that changed at all. But I did learn some things as far as being on the other side of that patient-physician relationship. And I had a wonderful team of doctors and nurses. And I'm just really grateful for that. That just let me know how important good doctors and good nurses are.
That is true. That's true. With especially somebody you're comfortable with, that you could talk about those things that, may not need a diagnosis, but is still a concern of yours. And I've realized throughout the years, the doctor has made a difference with how much I'm going to say, okay, well, this is going on, or I'm a little uncomfortable about this, versus, until you're all the way sick or something becomes an issue. So that is very true. How many rounds of chemo did you have to go through?
I went through 3.
Did you lose your hair?
All of it.
And how was that part of it?
This is going to sound odd. I miss my bald head days.
No, look, I understand. I understand from the perspective of I've thought about shaving my head just because it'll be easier.
And there's just something different about having a bald head. I tend to be hot natured. I've been hot natured my whole life. And I was not hot anymore because I have a mass of hair. So I was like, this is freedom. I'm like, I don't have to. It was, and then the thing about it that was so funny is my husband and my son would rub my head like I was Buddha. I'm like, will you stop? They're like, but it's just so smooth. I'm like, yes, it's smooth. My 2-year-old didn't have that many words. That was my husband telling me that. But my son told me that in his actions, because whenever we were near each other, he just go to rubbing that head. I'm like, okay, y'all.
I remember when my grandmother was going through her chemo, and she always kept a short hairstyle. And when it fell off during chemo, and then she had her little grays in there, I was like, Mama, because I call my grandmother Mama. I was like, Mama, you rocking that. And I was like, do you want me to shave your head as a sign of support? And she was like, no, because I don't know what your head look like. I know what mine look like. And I tell people, anybody in my life has to have a certain sense of humor, and my grandmother very much did, dealing with me because I was that grandchild. And so, no, she didn't agree to it. But I was like, Mama, I wear wigs anyway, so who's going to know? It'll just be me and your secret. And she was like, no, don't do that. So.
But that was a beautiful gesture.
I was gonna, my grandmother was my heart. She passed last year, but she battled with ovarian cancer on and off since 2013. And in her 70s, and I know the chemo would wear her out.
Mm-hmm.
But she had to go like so many rounds of it, and we actually changed her diet and did a bunch of different things, and some days she would have good days and some days she wouldn't. But I think it's very much with cancer, like where you are physically already,
yes,
your age, and how much fight you have left, So,
and I think what you were talking about as far as changing what you eat, I don't think that's explained enough to enough cancer patients. It does make a difference, because I was very cognizant of that. And my oncologist would often tell me, he's like, you are really doing great through treatment. And we never really had a lengthy conversation about what I ate. But I was very cognizant of that because I was a pharmacist before I went on to finish medical school and my residency. And I had that background of, your tissues do certain things if they're well nourished. And if they're not, you're kind of compounding the bad effects of the chemotherapy. Yeah. So I never really was lax in how I ate when I was getting treatment.
Well, it was a battle because, she come from that old school of, frying and, everything saturated in those things. And when we come with some liquid, green drink or orange stuff or whatever else, and, she was not really compliant all the time, and but everybody kind of dealt with her differently. And I was just like, Mama, look, make my life easier and just drink this. I know it's nasty. It looks nasty.
Look like swamp water.
Yeah, just like, just take a quick sip, just take a quick sip, and then I'll get you something else. And, so it was a battle, but it made me more conscious of what I put in my body. Because we're not. It's easier to get things that aren't good for you.
Very much.
It's easier. And, eating healthy is expensive, but it's less expensive than if I'm having to pay for medical care with something, later. So I'm learning to change my mindset. It's hard in Louisiana. People don't understand.
Whoa, yes.
Like, they need a cookbook, because if you look at healthy recipes, it's nothing that we really eat. So to all my Louisiana Southern cooks out there, come on, we could do some healthy Southern eating or something.
Well, that's why one of my favorite restaurants in New Orleans now, in the city, is a vegan restaurant. And I think I go there so much that I know the menu by heart. So I'm like, okay, today is Monday, so it's this. Today is Tuesday, so it's that. So, and they are really being well received in the community, which I am so very glad for, because we want that business to have longevity.
Definitely. I don't know if I know in my direct vicinity, there's no vegan healthy restaurants. I'd have to travel to the city part, but we definitely need to, like, just because it's healthy doesn't mean it's nasty. And I think I kind of grew up with that. Broccoli, it looks like trees. How is that good for you? So.
Because we can make some good food, but it's not necessarily good for you. So it's nice when it's good for you and it tastes good.
Right. So through everything, through medical school, through cancer, through becoming a mom, what kept you motivated along the way to keep going, to get into this, I don't want to say the next phase of life, but to get to where you are today? What kept you going?
God and my faith. Absolutely. I think we have to believe or hold on to something higher and bigger than ourselves. And so my God and my faith is what got me through.
Okay. So lasting change. How do people make a lasting change so it becomes part of their lifestyle instead of something I'm doing today?
I think a lot of it has to do with mindset. Instead of saying, I can't have, saying, I get to do this. So like you were saying with, you can get fast food, which is more convenient, but you don't know what that's doing to your body internally. And having a better mindset, a more grounded, balanced mindset of, you know what, that food is convenient, it's easy, it actually even probably tastes good, but I'm going to make this choice because I want the results of what this is going to do in my body. So I think a lot of it has to do with mindset. So often we come to changes, because a lot of times changes require sacrifice. And so we come to making those sacrifices from a better place when we're not, instead of saying, I'm depriving myself of this. No, I choose to nourish my body or nourish my spirit or nourish my relationships in this way. Not because it's a mindset of lack, it's a mindset of abundance.
I love that. Change does require sacrifice. And I think a lot of people, and I won't even put this on other people. With me, I know that it's easier to say, okay, I'll sacrifice this for that. But I know going into 2019, because I plan on fully living to 127.
Amen. Okay.
So I know I needed to make some changes. And at the end of 2018, I found myself drinking more coffee, like 3 cups a day. It would be all black, though. It would be all black coffee. So I was like, okay, that's not that bad. But I was drinking a whole lot of coffee and taking a whole lot of liquid B12. And it seems like my body could not function without those things. And I'm like, I know, eventually you'll build up a tolerance and it's going to take more and more. And I don't want to get more and more dependent on things like that to keep my body going. So I left coffee, which I love. I love coffee, like obsessed with coffee. But I left coffee and my liquid B12s in 2018.
Lasai.
One of my friends was like, and people are still living? I said, yes, people are still living.
Everybody's okay in the house.
Everybody's
okay.
Is okay. And, I did make added more fruit and vegetables to my diet as well, just because I don't want to be 127 and look 127. That's
Okay,
the
now.
key. So I'm working on that part. So we discussed some of your many roles, your purpose, the things that kept you motivated, and breast cancer. How and what inspired you to write?
Well, I've actually been writing for a very long time. Um, I've been writing since as long as I can remember. When I was in first grade, I had a poetry piece accepted by that Highlights magazine for kids.
Yeah.
So I had a poem accepted at that time. So I've always been a writer, not always as actively writing as I'd like, but I've always been a writer. So usually I write prose, poetry, and now I'm getting into some longer work. But I've always been a writer my whole life. I think it helps me process what's going on in my life.
So tell me, what's the name of the last book you wrote? And tell me about that.
Absolutely. The last book that actually was published uh, for me was Thinking About Quitting Medicine, Volume 2. It was me and 10 other physicians. And basically, it's like people watching in written form, but all of the people that you're watching are physicians, dentists, ophthalmologists, psychiatrists, and basically looking at, going through your life and realizing what's most important. And sometimes we have our lives busy with things that are not most important and really focusing on that. So Thinking About Quitting Medicine Volume 2 is what that's about. It's received rave reviews. We were Amazon bestselling authors for that work. Now, the thing that I'm working on now, that I'm writing now, is actually an ebook about, with my husband, about microfarming, because we've been microfarming for the last 6 years. And we get questions all the time of how do you grow that? And how do you select what you grow? And how do you sustain that? And so he and I kind of looked at each other and said, you know what? We need to do this as a service to our community so that they can do this also. So we're actually working on getting that launched.
Okay, so now you're going to have to back up a little bit. What in the world is micro? Like, you just throw out the word like, yeah, everybody, like, yeah, we're microforming. Okay, so what is microforming? Then I could ask questions.
Absolutely. Microfarming is almost just like basically gardening on steroids. So it is for people generally on less than 2 acres of land. So there's a usual land space on it. We're a little bit over 2 acres, but our growing space is less than 2 acres. And then also too, it's with a focus on fruits, vegetables, culinary herbs, that you're actually providing food for yourself and for some people who want to go into it as a business, a farmer's market.
So I have so many questions. Like, how did you get into that? Because you're in the city. Like, so how did you even get into microfarming?
Well, I think it's part of our culture in the South that everybody grows a little something. I
Right.
know growing up, whenever I was at my mom's house, my maternal grandmother, she always had a little plot of land where she would grow tomatoes and greens and peppers and things like that. And it was always natural for me. And then on the same respect, my father did the same thing. And it was basically things that we wanted to eat. So he grew peppers also. He grew some greens. He grew mainly tomatoes, which he still grows to this day. So being in the city actually is the perfect location to do microfarming. You don't have to have a lot of land. You just have to have some creativity of how to do it. And then my husband grew up on a farm in the Caribbean. So farming is just very natural for him. So when we moved to where we are living now, we were like, let's do this on a larger scale because we enjoyed it. And then we'd have so much produce and giving it to everyone. And they're just like, okay, you all need to do more than just giving it to people because we can't even keep up with what you're producing. So we were like, okay, well, we need to move it to the next level so that we can actually, handle the amount of produce that we're actually have on hand.
Interesting. And my brain juices went to flowing, and then reality hit in that I can't even keep plants alive.
And interestingly enough, we have a lot of people who are like, I kill everything. And I'm like, that doesn't even affect your ability to grow fruits, vegetables, or culinary herbs, because there's something for everyone. And so that's what we focus on in our system, is putting a system together for those people who, busy people like you and me, who need a system in order to get successful results. So that's what we do. So you don't have to be, you don't have to have a green thumb. I mean, it does help to have a green thumb, but you don't have to have a green thumb to microfarm.
Okay. And so when does this ebook come out?
The ebook will be coming out by the end of March.
Okay. That's so interesting. Like all the things that I know about you, and I thought I knew, a lot. We've talked, we've communicated, I would never, like if somebody said, what's all the things that I think you do, that probably would not have popped in my head, because I'm like, when do you have time to do that?
Well, it's a matter of just like, making priorities for certain things. And I kind of, how you were saying you have an obsession for coffee. I have an obsession with plants, fruits and vegetables and herbs. Now I have to give my husband credit. He's the one who's actually the engineer and he gets it done. I'm usually the one that has the blueprint. So we come together and I'm like, okay, this is my vision. And he's like, okay, this is how we're going to get it done. So I don't do as much of the heavy work and actually getting it executed like he does, but he's the one that has a more extensive experience than I do. So I put the blueprint together and get the background research done and get the resources and tools majority of the time that we need. And then he makes it happen.
That is very interesting. You need to add that, like Dr. Ray, Dr. Best-selling author, speaker, and microfarmer.
Microfarming evangelist. That's what I call myself.
Okay. I love that. So why should everyone have some sort of garden, or especially somebody like me that has a black thumb? There's no doubt about that.
Well, the thing that's interesting about it is you have plants that are low maintenance, and then you have some plants that are higher maintenance. And even for the lower maintenance plants, for people who struggle, there's actually systems like apps on your phone that can help you grow. And the reason that all of us should grow something green is, one, it helps our connectedness. We live in a world that should be vibrant and growing. And that's a reminder that it should be. The other thing too is actually what some people don't realize is that your air quality can be compromised by simple things that we do every day. Cleaning your home, burning a candle, doing all those kind of things. They compromise your air quality in a negative way. But by bringing in a plant, you remove toxicity from the air you breathe in a very easy way. And then there's actually ways that you can grow fruits and vegetables indoors, so you don't even have to go outdoors to grow. There we go. Because some people are like, no, I don't want to do that. Some people don't want to have that in order to grow. And so there's so many different options now that we didn't have before, that people who've never grown before or never grown successfully before, that we can offer them options where they can improve their air quality. I think everyone's getting a little bit tired of all these food recalls. I mean,
right.
The one we just had with the romaine lettuce is not the only one we've had, and it won't be the only one we will have. So if you're actually growing some of your food, even on a small scale, not do you have more food security, but you have more food confidence. And a lot of times when you're growing more green things, whether it be in your home, on a patio, or out, in your yard, we are going to consume more plants. So when you consume more plants, then you live a healthier lifestyle. So it comes full circle. You take care of the plants and the plants take care of you.
I love that, especially when you said indoor, because I have dogs and I've seen possums in the yard. I know we have a coyote loose somewhere around here. So me going outside is like, you know, so if I could grow, and then I am a candle burner, you know, so, and I don't think about, okay, it has that smoke or whatever has nowhere to go but in the house.
Yep.
Unless I air it out. So that's definitely something, you know, I may have to find me a low maintenance plant to keep in the house, but I was always scared to keep plants in the house because I'm like, it attracts bugs.
We have no bugs on our plants. Actually, plants tend to repel insects if they're healthy.
Okay, that's the key.
If they're healthy.
For it to be healthy. We definitely going to have some conversations because I want at least one plant, that'll be the tester to see if I could keep it alive, and then I'll go from there. That's very interesting. Who knew? Dr. Ray, full circle woman. So what in the world is the Sunshine Gang?
Oh, yeah, that is my social media tribe. My name being Ray. And sometimes when I tell people my name is Ray, because even though there's so many women in this world who have quote unquote man names, that I'll say, okay, my name is Ray or Dr. Ray. And they go, what? I said, Ray, like sunshine. And then they catch it. So when I was working with my social media tribe, I said, well, we're going to be the Sunshine Gang. And people really did receive that well. And I have quite a few people, you know, DMing me or seeing me in, you know, just around. And they're like, I love your Sunshine Gang. I look forward to your lives because it always, you know, motivates me and uplifts me. And I'm like, well, that's what it's for. I said, we have enough negative in the world.
Right.
We don't need to use social media to multiply it.
Right.
So let's do Sunshine Gang. And with Sunshine Gang, it's about focusing on your purpose, reviving your passion, and making certain that you elevate your positivity. So those three elements are what we need in order to be part of the Sunshine Gang.
I love that. There should be more Sunshine Gangs. A lot of people get off social media and say, you know, it's so much negativity there. And I'm like, your best friends can be unfriend, unfollow, and block. You don't have to be part of it. But I think it's easier for people to hold on to negativity, or like you say in your quote, to relinquish their, you know, positivity. Why do you think that is? Is it because negativity has become normal?
Well, you know, psychology says that it takes 21 positive experiences to eliminate one negative experience. So I think it's human nature to focus on the negative, but however, human nature is not always what should dictate how we think or how we live our lives. So, you know, human nature is naturally negative, but that's not where you're going to get your energy to have a positive life and do the things you want to do. And for those people who are on social media, I'm like, I'm so tired of the negativity. Well, even when you live in social media, there's negativity in the world.
Right.
So if you're feeling like social media is a negative place, just like you said, unfriend, block those people that are toxic to you, toxic to your spirit, and focus on those who are doing what you want to do. Because we tend to be a compilation of the 5 people or influences that we deal with on a daily basis. So if you don't make a conscious decision to have positivity in your life, by default, you're choosing negative.
And that's a word right there. That's a word right there. So speaking of words, if you only could pick one word to describe yourself, what would that word be?
One word to describe me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One word to describe me. I think it would have to be passionate.
I agree. I agree. Just listening to you on this interview and just the different things that you do and you're involved in, I hear the passion. A lot of times people say they're passionate about something, but you know when you talk to them if they're truly passionate. And the way, like, microforming was like nowhere in my line of questioning today, but you were able to like go in, and so now you've inspired me to at least get one indoor plant, and then my next step, because I'm all for trying to grow inside, and now I know if the bugs come, my plant's probably dying. So I'm going to work on that. But I definitely agree with your one word being passionate. So I know y'all have the ebook coming up.
Yeah.
So what do you see for you in 2019?
2019 is going to be the year of super blessings. I know that.
Yes.
And with that, I don't want just super blessings for me. I want super blessings for the people in my life, the people that I contact, for people I don't even know. I just want there to be a viewpoint that the best is yet to come. And, for us to each fully commit to getting better. Not because we're in competition with anyone else but ourselves.
I love that. 2019 is definitely a different kind of year. And if we, follow your quote, which I love, if we follow your quote and just continue to go and move towards positive things, even if it's something small, it will make a lasting change in our lives. It
And
definitely will.
and it doesn't have to be anything big. It doesn't have to be anything big. I believe there will be big things happening. But sometimes, too, with social media, we get these ideas that everything has to be perfect and, everything is easy. But it generally isn't. And that lets you know that you're on the course of something larger than yourself, is when you actually have to put in a commitment, some time, some talent, some treasure. But it's worth it, because what else are you going to do with your life?
I love that. I love that. Okay, so how can the audience get in touch with you, connect with you, of course, and maybe the Sunshine Gang, and get the book?
Absolutely. I would love for them to connect with me. They can find me on my website, draysmithmd.com, and that's draesmithmd.com. And they can find me on all, social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, Dr. Ray Smith, MD. And then my husband and I's venture, it's Peart's Produce. My married name, Peart, Peart, produce.com. We'll be coming pretty soon with our book launch, our system, and we even have an indoor-outdoor plant revitalizer that will be coming out with this year.
So that'll keep my indoor plant alive?
Alive.
Yes. And look, I just realized, okay, so I've been saying your last name wrong forever because I've been saying Pert.
Well, that's the way most people say it. And interestingly enough, if it's spelled Peart and you're an American, it is pronounced Pert. But if you're outside of the U.S., it's pronounced Peart. So my husband's from the Caribbean, so they pronounce it Peart.
Okay. I will make a mental note so I can make sure I say it correctly the next time we talk and I get my indoor plant action going on. I'm excited.
Yes, I'm excited too.
So, Dr. Ray, what is the one thing you would like to leave the audience with today?
No matter what you have told yourself or anyone else has told you, you are more than enough and your dreams are possible.
Yay, I love it. I will definitely repeat that to myself. Well, guys, make sure you get in touch with Dr. Ray. Of course, her information will be posted on the website and anywhere you see the podcast. So with that being said, class is over.